We got about 12, 13 hours to go or so, depending on where you're at. But yeah, this is it. This is where we are saying goodbye to 2024 and saying hello to 2025. If you're new to the God and Gigs show, to the God and Gigs platform, my name is Alan C. Paul. I'm the host and founder. This is where we help you as a faith focused creative musician, artist, whatever you do inside the intersection of the arts, entertainment, and ministry space. We help you to thrive by connecting the dots between your spiritual life and your creative life. We help you increase your income, your impact, and your influence because you know who you serve, how to serve that person, and how to grow your creative brand and your platform, all while never sacrificing your faith. So, if you're joining us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube, and or I should say, any of those things you want to join us on one or the other, go ahead and let me know if you can hear me okay. If you are following us on replay, if you're watching on replay, go ahead and let me know that you're watching on replay. We've had several people who jumped in on the last few days. We're doing 12 days to your best year ever. So not everybody can join on the day of. And so we're trying to make sure that everybody gets this information before the year kind of gets started. We're going to end this on January 6th. So 12 straight days. At first, I thought this was a lot to chew, a lot to try to get into. I thought it was going to be too much. I said, maybe I should have just made this an email. You know how that you get those meetings, they said this could have been an email. Well, I started to think that about this very series. I was like, well, maybe people don't need this information in video form. But then if you look back at day one, day two, day three, yesterday we did 4 and 5 together because we skipped Sunday. I saw the responses, those of you who are watching, the responses have been so gratifying. People have been grateful. They're like, thank you for this information. We needed this information. I need to think about this. And I think this time of year, right at the beginning of the year, 2025 and ending 2024, it's us speaking to where our hearts are. I could be very lackadaisical. I could say, oh, well, it's just another year. We can do the same old thing that we always do, not really change anything. Definitely never done 12 straight live streams like this at this level. And I could say to myself, yeah, let's just do what we did last year. Or I can say, you know what? It's time for me to push forward. It's time for me to do something a little different. It's time for me to be more aware and conscious of what really makes people, it helps people, it makes people pay attention and really drives the point home that this is something that is needed. And what better way than to say, hey, 12 days, you could have a picture and a visualization of your best year ever. So that's why we did it. That's why we're going live. Remember, if you do comment during the live stream, I can pull your comments up so I can actually speak to you and I can actually respond to you. Can't hear you because this is not a Zoom call, obviously, but I can respond to your comments. And I would love to hear what you're doing in the end of the year. Like, hey, some of us are going to be at church all night because you got a watch night service. Some of us will be at parties and performing. I'm the second one. I'll be doing a performance for a small cocktail. So thank God I don't have to be out all night. But some of you, maybe you're not watching, you're watching on replay because you had to get ready for your gig. And so I totally get it. And that's why I want to make sure this is available for you on replay as well. Let me know if you decide to do that. So, as I mentioned, we're doing our best year ever. This 12 12 steps, I should say, or the 12 themes might be a better way to say it, that we're using to get to our best year ever is what we're going to be talking about all year long. So basically, every day has been like a month. If you think about it, we're kind of like doing 12 days, 12 weeks, 12 months, all kind of like squeezed together, right? So the first 3 days have been, or sorry, I should say the first day was spiritual alignment. Then we talked about, after that, your vision, and we talked about your calling, really knowing what your vision is and planning that. And then the third day, which will be month 3, March, we talked about community, building a community, why that's so important. On day 4 and 5, those were combined. Day 4, monetization. What does it really take to make money doing what you love? And how do you even get that together in your head in terms of not devaluing yourself, which is, we had a deep conversation. Go back to day 4, if you need that. And then also the same day we did day 5, which is talking about your time management. So as you can see, if even those 5 things were the best they've ever been in your creative life, in your calling, in your family, in your business, if you had really established your spiritual alignment, your vision, your community, your time management, and your monetization, if those 5 things were like A level, you would be having your best year ever. Like, I think we could stop even before we got to day 6 and we could say, okay, that's an amazing year for you. But maybe we want to keep it going, and that's what we'll do today. I'm going to do some quick announcements. Once again, if you're watching, please let me know you're watching. Let me know what you're doing today as your last your last events or your last steps of getting ready for 2025. Are you currently getting ready for a performance, currently getting ready for church? Are you going to be doing something else for New Year's, just hanging out with family? Just let me know what you're doing, because it would be nice to know, like, hey, where's our community as we end 2024? So shout out always to God and Gigs 360 Gold, which is our mastermind level of our membership. We have our membership, but then we have our mastermind inside our membership. And the mastermind is where people are connecting twice a month or more. We have our dedicated channels for accountability, dedicated channels for all of the resources we provide in our membership. So we have 360, which is our membership. So that has a lot of the paid resources, but they're, $10 a month and $5 a month and one payment. And then there's the people who are investing consistently in their growth, and that's the mastermind level. So Shimini, Charmaine, Pamela, shout out to you guys. Shout out to everybody else that's in God and Gigs 360. We always want to make sure to remind everyone that that's there for you. And that's really what we're doing in this membership. We are doing these 12 themes. So if you really want to dig into these 12 themes and get all that you can out of these, you probably should go ahead and check out godandgigs.com/membership and choose a level, whether that would be the mastermind level or the membership, which would be our $10 level. Now, resources. I've been mentioning this every single time. It is now, as I'm talking, the last chance for you to buy things that will be tax deductible for your creative business. So highly, highly, highly suggest, if you have any funds that you are saying, oh, I'm going to wait till this January 1st, go ahead and get it now, because you can then get it written off of your taxes. I'm literally going to be going after this and seeing if I can renew my email subscription and my what else? So like 2 other things I want to try to get the annual plan on, and I'm going to try to do it, because if I can get it in this tax year, it immediately is deductible. So if you are looking for any resources at all, live streaming, that would be StreamYard. That's a toolkit. If you're looking to build a community, Mighty Networks, that has a deal on the toolkit. If you're looking to get Canva, all of the graphics you see around here are built in Canva. So let's say you want to upgrade to Canva Pro. Get that now. Get the tax deduction. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax professional, but this is a basic thing. Like, hey, you might as well save money. And if you don't do it this year, that means it's going to be a whole 12 months before it's actually deductible. So you might as well get it now. So just a high level kind of, recommendation. Go to the godandgigs.com/toolkit. See if there's something that you've been thinking about getting, and go ahead and pick that up, especially if you can do the annual, because the annual will save you a lot of money over time. And I've been mentioning this every day. Anybody that is looking for to get these BOI reports done, the courts keep going back and forth and back and forth. Is it due? Is it not due? My suggestion is just go ahead and file it. If you got an LLC, if you got an S Corp, a C Corp, anything in your creative business, you need to go ahead and get this done, because you just don't know what's going to happen with this crazy thing. So you can go to godandgigs.com/skip. Skip is what I recommend to go ahead and get this filed, because they do it for you for free as long as you have a account, and you can get the free account for now, the trial, and it's literally 3 questions and you're done. And you don't have to go looking for any other website or anything like that. Plus, you can get access to their grants, which they give away about $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 every 2 or 3 days. So there's a lot of grant money just sitting around waiting for you. So you can definitely check that out at Skip. All right. And last of all, coming events. As you can see, we're in our 12 days to our best creative year ever. I keep forgetting to change that timing. It's actually going to end on January 6th. Our first mastermind meetup will be January 13th. And Podfest conference, where I'll be speaking in Orlando, is the 16th through the 19th. Highly would suggest those of you who have even been thinking about podcasting or any kind of content creation, that is the conference you want to go to, because it will kick off your year with amazing relationships, no high stress stuff. They are not about selling you $1 million worth of coaching products. It is all about people really actually growing their channels, growing their podcasts, wanting to connect. That's one of my favorite communities, if not my favorite community to be a part of. So you're definitely invited to check that out at podfestexpo.com. Oh, and our most recent episode, and you want to go check that out, Future Focus, how to visualize your best creative year. I basically summarized what I talk about in these last six things. I summarized it. So if you want to get kind of like the Cliff Notes version of this live stream and the rest of the live streams, you can go check that out. And I gave you all 12 themes in one episode. That is episode 315, guidinggeeks.com/315. All right, I'll talk more about the lab work and the must-have tools, but these are the kind of tools I'm talking about that you really should go check out at the toolkit. So if you're looking for something to increase your social, looking for email, something to make you be able to make your testimonials. By the way, if you look back, this testimonial I created here, that was from Sinja. That's how I made that, and it was super easy, and you can download and create super cool testimonials talking about your work, your creative work, your art, your music. You can just grab those testimonials and you can make them really pretty and put them all over your social. I just mentioned Skip, StreamYard, and Mighty Networks, or Buy Me a Coffee if you want to build a membership. So all that is at the toolkit. So I don't want to go too far about that. You can go check that out and do some shopping yourself. All right, we got to day 6. Wow, I'm going all over the place right now. So branding and messaging. How can you have your best year ever when it comes to branding and messaging? By the way, once again, if you're watching, I can't pull you up on, I believe it's on LinkedIn. I cannot pull you up on LinkedIn. I can pull you up on Facebook, and I can pull you up on YouTube. So if you're watching on either one of those platforms, please let me know. Just give me a shout out or something like that, because that way I can say, hey, if you need to comment, please go ahead and comment. But if you're on LinkedIn, which we haven't done in a long time, and I don't really think I've even really popularized it or really promoted it, but I just feel like going to Instagram is kind of it doesn't really feel like it's really connecting with the people who need to see this. So we're trying LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, let me know, because that would be a huge benefit to know that this is working with you and you are finding this content when you need it. All right. So branding and messaging. The biggest issue, I think, when it comes to this is the immediate thought process is, well, everybody's got to have a brand. Everybody's got to be thinking in terms of, oh, I need to be the next Gary Vee. I need to be the next Mr. Beast. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday when we talked about monetization. It seems like everyone is comparing themselves to the biggest brands on the planet, especially in creator economy terms. Music terms, you might think of the Taylor Swifts and the Beyoncés and the Bruno Mars and the Post Malone, and these are people, but they're also brands. Rihanna, right? These are artists, but the artist is a brand or has created a brand that is tremendously huge. Joe Rogan and podcasting, right? I can go on and on. With each of these major creators, the major creator has a brand, either that they are the brand or that there's a huge brand around them. And this is what we compare ourselves to as independent creators. We think the only way that we could ever compete or even be seen is to be a Rogan, Beyonce, Taylor Swift level type marketer and brander and have a message that resonates at that level. And here's the part I immediately want to get to right away for everyone watching, all of our creators in the God and Geeks community. You are not competing with these other artists. You're not competing. This is not a competition. Now, there are only so many eyeballs. There are only so many hours in a day. And there's only so many social media posts that people can absorb. That much is true. I get that. There's only so much that people can take in. However, the people that you are called to reach, they are not looking at Beyonce. They are not looking at Taylor Swift for their for what you offer, they're not looking to them. The biggest brands in the world have identified a market or something that they speak to best, right? But there is something that you speak to best. And so the people who need you don't need them. I hope this makes sense. And I want to make it very clear because this is all where I'm like fleshing out the topics that we're going to be sharing all year long. If you want to have your best creative year ever, the first thing you have to do is divorce yourself from the idea that you have to compete with others who have huge brands, because those brands are doing what they're supposed to do. There's a phrase that has been echoing in my mind for the last few weeks and days, which is any system is perfectly designed to get the results that it's getting. I'll say it again a little slower just to make sure it makes sense. Every system is designed to get the results that it's getting. So the best, whatever brand you want to call it, Nike, Coca-Cola, it's designed to get the results it's getting, which is to reach millions of people and get them to spend all this money on them and continue to keep this big conglomerate alive and working. However, they are not designed, let's put it this way, there's also something they're not designed to do. They are not designed to reach that individual person that you can write the song for, create the art for, sing for, coach, and develop and influence. That system is not designed to reach that person. You have the right know-how, the right branding, the right messaging once you put it together right to reach that individual that God has called you to reach. So saying I have to compete with this other entity, even if it's in your niche, even if it's someone that is closer to you, even if it's someone that does something similar to you, the key is not to think of them as your competition. You can take best practices and compare and borrow ideas and think about, oh, well, this is the best way that people do this, so I will use some of the ideas without copying. But to think that you are in competition with them, you're not. You're only in competition with yourself when it comes to this kind of branding and messaging. How can you tailor what you say and share to the point that only you have that kind of voice? Only you can say what you're saying. Only you can share what you're sharing. I'm really acting that out right now. I know that this messaging and branding that I'm putting out is not, no one else has it. And that makes me a unique proposition, a unique brand, a unique messenger that I don't have to compete with anyone. Now, can I improve it? Of course. But that doesn't mean that I'm in competition with someone else who's doing it, because they're not doing it like I'm doing it. My brand and my message are unique to me. So as you can even see in this little diagram over here, the identity, right? You can go into all these other things, logo and design and strategy. That's all great. But the first identity is owning who you are and then owning who you serve. When I say own, it doesn't mean like owning the people. It means owning that kind of approach, owning that community as your own and treating them as they are your own and caring for them as they are your own, as if they are your own. So that is the first key of the branding. Now, I would highly recommend, as a matter of fact, if we do a giveaway, each time I do a giveaway, I try to do something where we'll give away something that will actually help in this particular area. And I just thought of a book. I literally thought of it as I'm talking, Primal Branding. And so Primal Branding is a book that I was in love with, and I probably would reread it again. It is a huge book for most content creators. If you haven't heard of it, I got it from another YouTuber and I kept hearing it and I said, well, what are they talking about? Well, primal branding is this ideal of what does a person want at their core? What are the things that make you connect to something beyond just, oh, well, I like it. Why do you like it? What makes people like things? And one of the things that they said that is a key part of every single primal brand is an origin story. So let's get into the identity part. You know, Superman has his origin story from Krypton, powered by the sun. He gets his power from the sun. He was landed on Earth. He was raised by his uncle and his, well, not uncle and aunt, but he was raised by, these two people who didn't really know, but they became his parents, right? And then Lois Lane becomes the love interest. And all this is part of the origin story of Superman that gets told over and over again, movie after movie after movie. Same thing with Batman, all these other superheroes. They keep telling the origin story. Why is that? Because people connect with a story that sounds and feels like a story that they either have lived, would like to live, or believe in, right? So the origin story of your story is super important. A lot of us feel like, well, no one cares if I went to this school, or no one cares if I did this, or if I had this pain. No one cares. You would be surprised. One of the things that I have to do better, even in my own branding, is tell my origin story. How God and Gigs got started out of this moment that I had no idea where I was going to work, resigning from a church when I had a full-time job and having no job, going through all of these years of not gigging and then being thrown into the gigging lifestyle because I had no other job that I could do. So I had to just start gigging, and I'm just doing $50 gigs at a blues club for some fish dip, and, having the music loud in my ears and not knowing, why am I doing blues? Like, I learned jazz and I haven't played this music in forever. And is this even going to work? Am I even making any money that's going to be worth it? Right? That's my origin story. That's the origin story of God and Gigs. And one of the things that I have to figure out, even in next year, as I work for my best year ever, is how to better incorporate my origin story in your and other people that are watching origin stories. How are our origin stories similar? How are our stories similar? Because basically branding is just telling us a story, telling your story, and then inserting someone else into your story by then saying, hey, what's your story? How can we help you have a happily ever after? It could be in so many different ways that you could do that in your songs, in your writing, in your creative products. How can you continue to be a better chapter of their story and they become a part of yours? And this kind of dance goes back and forth. But it starts with knowing your identity and knowing who you are and who you serve. Let's get to the second half of that, who you serve. Because who you serve has a lot to do with how you serve them, whether it be singing, dancing, writing, performing, or coaching, building a business, whatever that is. It has a lot to do with the people that you serve. And people will call this, a lot of times you'll hear this, your ideal customer avatar or your ideal customer. So whoever that person is, some people name that person. They'll say, oh, my ideal customer is Tracy. And Tracy is a 45-year-old mom who is struggling to understand her identity and her purpose. And she needs this and she needs that. Or it could be like fitness, because January, everybody talks about fitness. My ideal customer is an overweight person who wants to lose weight and has been trying all the diets, and they have this particular makeup and they do these certain things. You can go as deep as you want. Some people go all the way deeper to the psychological. Like they say, this is what this person thinks and feels and acts. They will go, like I've done, they will go through the responses. I've looked at your responses to many of these comments, and they paint a picture of who our ideal customer is, who our client is, who's in our community. And so I can see if we share an origin story. I can see where your struggles have been. I can see where you would want answers to questions that you always ask. And that becomes part of the messaging. Now, I love what April Beverly shared. She is a hugely influential copywriter, has an amazing AI program that is culturally sensitive. So those of you who are using ChatGPT and you wish you had something that was more understanding of a certain kind of culture, voice. Okay, look, we're being very honest here. Whether it's Black, Latin, minority, whatever you want to call it, that is not really represented in AI most of the time. So April has written a program called AI Pro, and it has that copywriting skill of matching a voice that is more culturally inclusive. So the reason I bring up April is that she did an amazing series of questions of branding versus messaging. And so, or really marketing versus messaging, with the marketing. But the messaging she was talking about is really the first thing before the brand and before the logo and all that kind of stuff. Who are you speaking to really? What is their real problem? What is their issue if they're in the audience of your music? What are they actually searching for when they listen to a song? Are they looking for just a chill vibe? Are they looking to kind of soothe like a heartbreak? Are they looking to be motivated, to be energized? Are they looking for something fast? Are they looking to be kind of hyped up as a party is starting? Where are they at that moment? And what is the message that you're sending through the song is way more important than, oh, well, what's the cover art going to be, right? That's after the fact. But the messaging of the song comes from the message you want to convey to the person that is right there listening to it at the time. So that's where the messaging has to be clear in terms of what you believe, who you are. And if you want to have your best year ever, what you're going to do is you're going to spend so much time really having conversations about this with the people that you want or you believe you should be serving or selling to or marketing to. If you don't do those conversations, you're really, what happens to many of us, we keep repeating the same things over and over again, and we like, Instagram shadow banning me, YouTube won't show my stuff. It's because we're not having conversations. You probably have heard the term sales conversions. There's no conversion without conversation. Heck, this is true even in the Bible in spiritual sense. There's no conversion from being someone that doesn't believe in God to someone that believes in God without a conversation first, right? There has to be some kind of interplay of information of someone saying, here, I believe this, you believe this, what do we believe now? Well, I believe now that Jesus came to save me. But when did that start? It started from a conversation of some sort. They heard something, there was a conversation between, even if the person wasn't there was a conversation that took place. So your messaging has to do with who you're trying to reach and where are they right now. What are they actually feeling? After that, if you want to have your best year ever, you then move to what's the best package for this message, right? That's the brand. The messaging is, who do I really want to speak to? How do I speak to them? What's the core essence of my message? Whether it's faith-based or not, music-based or not, whatever it is, what's the core of my message? And then the branding is like the package that you wrap that thing in and say, hey, if you open this up, you're going to see the message, but you have to first have like at least a little bit of the branding that makes it look attractive to the person that needs that message. I hope this is making sense, because even as I'm saying it, as I said many times, my wife and I are going back over this. I am a think to talk. So I'm a talk to thinker. So I'm thinking out as I talk, and I think I'm getting even closer to what my best year ever is going to be and how this could help you. So once again, if you're watching on replay, let me know how this is impacting you. What are you going to apply from this particular segment of your best year ever so that you can have your best year ever in terms of messaging and branding? By the way, I want to read this because this is what it would look like if you had your best year ever. We wrote this out and I shared this in our, let's see where it is. We shared this in the podcast. Okay. Let me see. I have a best day ever. Which one do I want to do? No, I want to do your best year ever. So what would be your best year ever in terms of marketing and messaging? I can't find it now when I want to find it, of course, just when I need it. It always seems to be, what did I put it under? Not testimonies, I can't think straight. Yeah, I need to rename this. So this needs to be best year ever framework. So sorry as I work in front of you, but I knew I can't find it. This is why I can never find it, because I have a weird name for it. So this is what you would say to yourself. Imagine you saying this to yourself. I can't say it straight. Yeah, I got to change this because it's actually in the wrong area. I cannot seem to find it. There it is, finally. So imagine you're saying this to yourself at the end of the year. My brand feels like me and it's working. I'll say your, but I should say, I'll say your. Your social media, website, and overall message finally reflect who you truly are. When someone interacts with your work, you know it resonates because it's authentic. You feel proud of how you're presenting yourself to the world. So imagine that being the end of the year. This is what we talked about in the episode 315. If you want to go check that out, that's exactly where that is. I talked about every single ending of the best year ever, what it sounds like, what it feels like, what the vision is. So imagine saying that to yourself, that you feel proud of how you're presenting yourself and your work to the world. Not just the work itself, but the packaging, the messaging. You know it's reaching and it's all being authentic and it's hitting the right notes and it's being, the packaging, let's be honest, this takes a lot of work. It takes money. It takes thought. It takes what's the best font. But some people get caught up in the logo and design, all the kind of stuff you see up there. They get caught up in that and they don't think about the message first, and they get caught up in what's the prettiest picture. But they're not really concerned about what's the message behind it. And if they're not really concerned with the message, then what's getting lost is the actual connection point between you and the person that you're called to reach. And this is what so frustrates so many brands. It frustrates so many independent creators. It's because they don't feel like that connection is there and they blame the social media network. Meanwhile, the social media network is just saying people aren't clicking on it. They are just built by algorithms and responses. And so if there's nobody clicking and nobody following, then they assume that there's nobody resonating. Now, this would be, here's what I'm going to be very transparent. Even as I'm sharing and I might look and there's a 0 on a certain thing where there's no views. That would, to me, sometimes say, well, I'm not reaching anybody. But that's not the case, because what happens is I'll see later that somebody responded and said, this was helpful. Or I'll see you respond even on this very video. If this helped you, this is how you actually help someone else have their best year ever. I always look at all the other different comments and places where I see many, sometimes big creators write something and nobody comments. I am always looking to kind of encourage other creators. So I will leave a comment because I know comments are like the fuel to engagement and to algorithms. And just you leaving that one comment, number one, it tells the person that yes, someone was watching. Number two, it tells the algorithm someone was watching. This is more important. You should share this more. And number three, it gives that sense of understanding that there's a give and take, and you are helping that person who's writing it see that this was something they should do more of. So it has a three-way effect on those who you share with when you comment and you say, hey, this messaging you just used, you got it right. You nailed the right person. I saw it. Keep going. There is so much of that in the messaging that you can provide, even in the way you share right now, even as I just did. Vocalizing, hey, if you like this, please like this video. Hey, if you watch this and this resonated with you, please leave a comment and say so. If you were watching on replay, please share and say, yes, I was watching on replay. This is not about me trying to build up my metrics. This is about me seeing that I'm actually making the right message. Because if after 2 or 3 weeks, nobody responds and nobody says anything, then I'm going to move on from this message. But the problem with that is, if it was for you, you've just voted against me sharing more of what I just shared. And so many times as creatives and creators, we get caught in that kind of, well, that didn't work, I'm going to try something else. That didn't work, and then try something else. Meanwhile, those of us who want more of it, we forget that we have a responsibility too. We have to share and say, hey, this was part of what I think you should share more of. Yes, I will respond to the email. And I'm not saying that, everybody that doesn't comment is like, being negligent. I'm just saying that this is kind of like the virtuous cycle of creativity. The virtuous cycle is give and receive. I share, you share. I see something I like, I say something. You see something you like, you say something. And the key is that each one of us is getting closer and closer to the right messaging. And the hard part is Galatians 6:9, be not weary in well-doing, for in due season ye will reap. Sticking with the message when it feels like nobody is watching is one of the toughest parts of being a creator, but it's also the most fulfilling when you stick with it and people actually respond. Look at this. This is a perfect example right there. And look who spoke up, but our amazing sister and established creative expert in God and Gigs, LaShonda from Bootstrap Biz Advice. She said, totally agree. Comments are fantastic feedback and encouragement for creators. And look how encouraged I am. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why it matters, because LaShonda and I are already talking pretty much all the time. She doesn't have to watch right now. She's like the one helping me, but yet she's engaging. She's following along. She's saying, hey, keep going. This is exactly what we are talking about in Bootstrap Biz Advice to help other creatives. It's what we talk about in God and Gigs. And we have a shared interest and mission in that. And so the better I help her to get her messaging, the better she helps me to help my messaging, the better we help our individual communities. And so, what I'm really hoping you get out of all of these live streams, because again, we've done this, number 6, it's the last one of the year. But imagine at the end of the year having this like down pat in your head that I know what my message is, I know what my branding strategy is overall. I'm not just kind of picking and choosing colors. You guys see, I went to the color change of purple. You guys have seen that over the last few months or weeks, maybe if you've been following for a while. Why did I incorporate the purple? Well, that was a branding strategy based on the fact that I saw a lot of our people. I have a lot of ladies that are members of our organization, and my wife loves purple. So I was like, okay, maybe purple is good. I saw a lot of the brands that I was associating with had switched to somewhat of like a purple hue. I saw Mighty had used purple. So Senja was using purple. I saw a lot of these other things. I was like, okay, what does purple stand for? Oh, royalty. Oh, that's pretty cool. I love the idea of royalty being a part. And I've been sticking with the orange and the black for a long time in God and Gigs. So it's part of my book. You can see behind me. So that branding was kind of like there. Wow. Like even behind me, I think, wait, is this it? Yeah. You see the purple there? So it's like these colors started popping up everywhere. And so even something as simple as a color scheme change was based on me listening and following the clues that my community was giving. And I'm a huge fan of it now. Like I'm pretty much changed almost everything to kind of like more of like the combination of the purple and the yellow. And it says to me, the message is for me, and something as simple as a color change is I'm responding and I'm listening. And this is a safe place for you. This is a place where I'm going to make things feel and look however it needs to look or feel so that you know you have a place, a space, and a voice. And in your messaging and your branding, are you incorporating that? LaShonda, I know you know this firsthand. You talked about this so many times in your live streams and in your content about how your identity as a 20-hour a week creator who works hard at those hours, but then you're done and you're connecting with your nature. You're putting out pictures in the mountains and by streams. You're a tech educator that's not techie, right? You're not trying to show everybody all the demographics of, oh, I'm using this software and this software, this software. You're like, that's not your pictures. Your pictures are all in nature because that is part of your branding and your messaging. And it attracts people like me who I'm also not trying to be impressed by how many stats you have and how many millions of followers you have. That doesn't impress me. So the messaging and the branding fit, and that's why those things work together to help people see that you are the solution to their problem. You are the right place. You are the right community. You are the right person. So all of that. And same thing with podcasting. Podcasting is the same thing. There's a million podcasts, but only a few of them actually stick with it long enough to reach that audience. That's why I'm creating a program now that's really an incubator for podcasts, because my goal is never to have the biggest. My goal is to have the most connected podcast, the most engaged podcast, the one where people are actually caring that there's an episode next week. And then when there's not an episode, they're sad. Like that's the goal. The goal is not to have the most, it's to have the most depth and the most reach to the people that are called to be reached, not necessarily the number of the people that we're reaching. So that's what we're talking about today. That's the messaging kind of best year ever that I want you to imagine for the end of the year. And if you are interested in this, again, godandgigs.com/membership. I did not do any, it's kind of interesting now I'm thinking about this. I could have done like a special bonus for this, but we're not changing prices at all, at least not right now. So if you're interested in being a part of a tribe where we're talking about this, you can go to godandgigs.com/membership, and you could either join at the mastermind level, which is our God and Gigs Gold series, or you can just get our resources, and that's over here at godandgigs.com/resources. And that is where you can simply get the $10 a month resources for our templates, everything we're sharing, including some of the workshops that I'm doing that I don't share with anybody else, but you can get access to them there. But you can join at either tier. That's not important to me. What's important is that you're around people. I don't know many other places that have a dedicated prayer chat. That's what we have in God and Gigs. We have a dedicated prayer chat. No, nothing else goes in that thread except prayer requests and prayer responses and praise reports. Like that's something that I can say is a feature of God and Gigs that I know no other membership like mine has, where there is a prayer chat in the app. That's all it's for. And that is one of the things that I think my messaging, maybe I'll do a little more of next year, is the message of spiritual alignment, that this is first God, and then we get to the gigs, and then we talk about how the gigs can then influence the rest of your life, so you don't have to do the gigs you don't want to do anymore. I thought about changing the name of God and Gigs. I don't know if I'm ever going to do that, but I was tempted because gigs is not hugely a part of the identity anymore, but it is kind of like the gateway to the identity that we're sharing. So thank you so much. Oh, good to see you, Emmanuel. I appreciate that. Thank you for checking in. And you know this too, in terms of your branding, your worshiping music school, right there. You just said it in your name. And I'm also curious, man, since you're here, whether or not you have been challenged with your messaging, with your branding, going on Facebook Lives, doing the events you are doing. If you've ever felt like, well, is my brand really reaching people? Because to me, like, your brand is super clear and who you serve is super clear. But maybe I'm not alone. Maybe someone else has also struggled with this. And I want to make sure I don't just, make this a monologue and not share and questions and answers. So you have any questions, or you've had struggled with branding, with what is the brand? What is the message? What am I trying to share? This would be the time to do it, because we won't go an hour. We might go an hour, but this was always going to be, these live streams were always going to be kind of like, basically, up in the air. We'll just go as long as we need to go. So there was no set time on this. I would love to hear your comments on, what do you plan to change next year? Do you need to change your brand? Do you feel you need to change your brand? So let me know about in the comments. If you're watching on replay, same question. Have you struggled with your branding or your messaging in terms of, what do I share? What do I say? Are people listening? Is this really resonating with people? If that has been an issue with you, go ahead and share it in the comments. All right, here we go. I see you now. Let's see. He says, I want to be more intentional in 2025. I've struggled a little bit. I thank God for your podcast, and your video presentation, really good. Thank you. All right, so I want to be on number one. Thank you for being a faithful part of this, Manuel. You've been around us and been a part of the community for, I think, at least 2 years now. And you say you want to be more intentional in 2025. I think all of us are dealing with that, right? This is the season of resolutions. This is the season of, what am I going to do next year? What's going to be different? I am 100% buying into and going to be the poster boy for process over product. The intentionality, I feel, oftentimes we get caught up in what the product's going to be, like, what is this going to end up being, versus getting much, much better at the process and refining the process at which you create whatever you are creating. So if you are struggling a little bit with, okay, well, what do I say? I think you go backwards a little bit and you say, all right, I know where I want to end up. Maybe I do want to have this. And of course, being clear with your goals is clear. But if you are more consistent in your process, and I go from blank to blank to blank to blank, the product will eventually get better simply by the act of actually working on it. So maybe what you're intentional or struggling with, maybe it's branding. And let me know if I'm on the right track. If you're struggling with the branding and the messaging, maybe it means going back to saying, okay, how quickly am I responding and connecting with people who say, I need blank? How quickly is that question being answered? How quickly am I asking a question? Hey, what did you think of this? Am I consistently asking questions of the people who I reach? What did you think? What can I do better? Do you have surveys? Do you have things like that? Is there a process of follow-up? Is there a process of feedback? Is there a process of these things where immediately upon you getting the first chance to respond to a person that you're serving, especially in your ministry, what's that process look like? Because if you get better at that process of responding and feedback and getting connected with people, your speed of then creating a product or a service or a ministry thing that will connect with that person will get better. Is that making sense? So instead of thinking I just need to write a better book, how can I be more intentional about connecting with people who the book will eventually reach and will be read by? How do I get that faster? How do I get that better? How do I connect with them? It's okay. I love this. Okay, I'm going to get to this in a second. Sean, I'm going to bring that up. So that is the key element, I think, in terms of being intentional, is being intentional about your process. Um, so that's where I want to look at in terms of what that help you with. And so yes, I think it is okay. I appreciate that. All right, I got to answer this question for LaShonda. You're a multi-passionate creative. You're talking to me now. I'm assuming, but I'm curious if you could be only known for one thing in 2025. What would that be? Oh gosh. All right, you're holding my feet to the fire. Because this is what I've talked about a lot of times um, in terms of intention, in terms of priority, and what do I want to be known for? And now LaShonda, as a YouTube coach myself, as you've been coaching me, you've been talking to me about the podcaster level, the coach I am, the musician. Um, if I could only be known for one thing, honestly, I'll tell you what comes to mind. This may be wrong in terms of what really resonates, but I really want to be known as the word that comes to mind is a curator. Um, and I know that's not like something that's going to grow a business. Um, but I see myself, and maybe other people don't see this as a superpower, but I see myself as the person that brings elements together to create a more harmonious whole in different areas. So that I can apply it to podcasting. I connect God and gigs. I connect worship and ministry and arts. I connect these things together and I curate a space in which they can harmoniously live. Do the same thing with my worship band. I connect the dots between my worship leader and the band, and I try to curate an area where that all harmoniously lives. That's not necessarily something that's ever going to roll off someone's tongue. That's never been something in my word clouds from my responses where someone's like, "Oh, you're an amazing curator." Like nobody says that. Like I get that, but that in my heart of hearts is what I would want to be known for. And now, of course, the label will most likely be podcaster, or the label would be creative coach, or the label would be, I'm not even sure there's another label that really fits. And that's kind of like been the key I've been trying to turn, right? In the branding and the messaging is what is the key phrase that people come up with. Even in the LinkedIn AI thing that came through, it said that my vibe is guide, my vibe is coach, and my guide is creative, right? But guide and coach, like both of those things, again, they could be multiple things. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. It's my mission, not my job. Thank you. Yes, that's it. That's why it's so tough to put a finger on it, even in my own messaging. Is my goal is a mission. I don't know if I ever sent you the book Master of One. This is another Jordan Rayner book. Obviously, I've already given away one of these Redeeming Your Time from Jordan Rayner. I gave that away yesterday. We're going to send this to my friend Pastor Fury, who was on the live stream yesterday. But Jordan Rayner is again one of like my patron saints when it comes to God and gigs. And Jordan Rayner's book Master of One, he talks about like one of the perfect examples he gives is Fred Rogers, right? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He was in composition school. He was a composer. He was an ultimate multi-hyphenate. He was getting into puppetry and the whole Sesame Street vibe long before TV was even like a big thing. And he was saying, let's do this children's show. Obviously, he did it for 40 and 50 years. Was also a Marine. I mean, this guy was all the things, right? And yet, we know him as Mr. Rogers. But like, what is Mr. Rogers? Is he a TV personality? Was he a teacher? Like, what was his job title, right? Like, that's kind of weird because we know him as Mr. Rogers and his branding and his message was so clear. And yet he was a million different things. He was speaking, he was singing, he was performing, he was acting, he was writing the scripts, he was doing all these things. And at the same time, he was a master of one thing. And the master of one thing was communicating to children. That was his mastery. And so my mastery comes from the thing I do best in whatever field I'm in. So my skill is a master of, hopefully at some point, curating and creating connections between people and making that where they come out to be the best they can be in their income, in their influence, and in their impact. but I do it in several different places inside podcasting. I do it inside music. I do it inside communities. So these are other areas in which I operate in, but my skill is still that, which is connecting the dots and making that curation possible between communities and creators, right? So I curate a creative space, but many of those creative spaces happen to be in podcasting, they happen to be in music, they happen to be in other places. But sit, sing, swing, keep the music playing, podcasting 2.0. Like you said, I have a million different things that are going on. And yet each time is like, oh, that's what's happening. I'm a master of one thing. And by the way, that quote from Benjamin Franklin is actually not jack of all trades, master of one. It's supposed to be jack of all trades, master of some. So that was a cool thing I read in that book as well. Oh, you just ordered your copy. Okay, ordered your copy of which one? Did you order your copy of Redeeming Your Time or Master of One? Because Master of One is, again, a great book. There's a couple of books I would suggest, actually, when it comes to this topic. I would suggest, I mentioned Primal Branding. And what else? When we're talking about branding and messaging, what's another one? Building a story brand is another huge one that I love. But yeah, tell me which one you ordered, so I know which one you're looking at. And I might, if since you are here, we might decide that the giveaway, since we haven't done the giveaway yet, you might be the winner of the giveaway. So let's see. Internet podcasting and music are both auditory. Yes, and that is why I struggle with video so much, because I don't even like the fact that people see me on stage and then they say, oh, I love what you were doing. I'm like, that's not where my head is. Like, I am, in a sense, performing and I have to have the visual. But even with video, it's why it's so interesting that I'm doing the talk at Podfest on video and audio. Like, how am I doing both? And I can speak from experience as an audio first person that video was not my first love at all. And so when people are going to come to me and say, like, how are you podcasting video? And, maybe that doesn't belong. I'm like, yeah, I get it, because I didn't want to do it either. I didn't want to do video. Video was a necessary evil for me because I realized some people learn better like this. Building a story brand too. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay, I'm glad you told me. I had no idea. Yeah, that was huge too. Story brand is becoming, like, again, like part of the Parthenon of my mindset between primal branding and the connections between. I want to, okay, if y'all want to go into my brain a little bit, like literally go into my brain, LaShonda, this may be the worst kind of video ever, but I'm going to go ahead because I just think this helps me demonstrate, number one, how crazy I am. Let me see. I need to let me open the brain and bring the brain over. I got to make it not full screen. Where is the brain? Where is my brain? There it is. And we're going to make it over here. All right. Let's see if I can get you guys to see this. I can't find it. Shoot. I can't share. All right. I wanted to show you my connections between those two books, but I just don't know how to bring that. Oh, I got to get out of. That's what I need to do. There we go. Now I can get it. All right. So I'm going to go real quick into my personal brain here. Y'all, I do mind mapping. Mind mapping is my thing. So if you ever want to know someone that goes nuts with mind mapping, this is my mind map for the last 15 years. Okay, I have a 15-year mind map. I know. So do I have primal branding here? Yes. So here are the 7 levels of primal branding. This is why I use this program, because it is so easy for me to pull up ideas from anywhere. And I knew this was here. That's so funny that I knew I was taking a big gamble here. I had no idea if this was going to be here, but I was right. It is absolutely there. Let me go here quick. Let's make sure you guys can still see a tiny bit of it. Where is it? And let's pull this down. So yeah, so these are the 7 levels of primal branding, right? Creation story, creed, icons, rituals, pagans, sacred words, and the leader. But as you can see, LaShonda, what I love about this is that if you go right next door to building a story brand, it has some of those very same elements, right? So it goes right there to the guide and requires empathy and authority. And if you go back over here to primal branding, that really goes down to like the leader and the sacred words and things like that, like the empathy and the things that people share. I see these as connections points right there, because that is where the empathy and the authority comes close, because a leader has that authority and they understand like the sacred words and the things that we say only in that community. They kind of get that, right? So then I took that to God and Gigs primal branding. So what is God and Gigs creation story? Well, there it is, right? It is that I started blogging in 2010, my first post in 2020. My name changed from Jesus and Jazz, which I cannot believe I named it that. The notepad that I originally wrote my first book on, The 7 Service Steps, leaving Second Baptist, my church with 3 days of no job, running my Kickstarter, and then, so all those are part of my creation story. And so these are the kind of things, like I said, I am literally digging into all the time. And this is, and then of course you have some of the other books that kind of go along with that, with the branding. So I've always wondered if I should ever dig into this because as you can see, my brain is a crazy place. And I'm always nervous when I share this because like people are like, well, what the heck is all that? But yeah, let me go ahead and get out of there because like I said, it's a lot going on there. It's a lot going on. All right, you guys. Well, we went an hour. I wasn't expecting to go an hour, but we did. Thank you so much, LaShonda, for joining us. And again, those of you who are watching on replay, those of us who are watching on replay, please let me know, because I know not everybody's going to come on a New Year's Day, a New Year's Eve, and be able to join us. So if you're watching on replay, thank you for coming back. Maybe it's New Year's now, maybe it's 2025, and you finally got in. I want to quickly announce a couple of things, though, before we leave. I will be giving out, as a bonus for those people who are joining God and Gigs during the 12 days of your best year ever, I will be providing a bonus 12 trainings of the best tip. LaShonda, I would be so kind. I would be so blessed if you would do one of these. I was supposed to email you, and I didn't want to email you during the break, but hey, you're here. So if you would like to do a 5-minute video saying your best tip, and just send it my way and just do it on your phone real quick and just say, hey, here's my tip for 2025, how to level up. And by the way, become a member of Bootstrap. I'll be open to that because I would love to have you as one of our 12 tips from 12 creative experts on how to level up in 2025. So that invitation is open. I was meaning to ask you, and then I felt like bad because I don't want to ask her to do more work, but it's like, she'll be the only person I really want on there. Along with the other one, we already have a financial expert doing one. She already sent me in, and our music business expert has sent me one. So we have 2, and then we should, by the end of the time, we'll have 12. Yes, look at that. See, ask and you shall receive. All right, y'all. Okay, so this is going to be a lit organizational, or not organizational. This is going to be a lit like resource where 12 tips from 12 creative experts like LaShonda, who is killing it, are going to share. And anybody that joins inside God and Gigs throughout the next 12 days or next 6 days, really, because I'm really halfway through, will get this bonus as well, so that you can have 12 key things that will help you level up in 2025. And by the way, not only is that 12 tips going to be in there, because some of you are going to be saying like, wait, I want to have access. Well, I will splice them in, LaShonda, just so you know. These will also be used throughout the year in the podcast. So you'll get to hear what LaShonda shared, but you don't get to hear it now if you don't join. You have to wait till maybe it pops up in the podcast throughout the year, and I'll disperse those randomly. So you can wait, or you could get all 12 right off the bat when you join. So Manuel, anybody else that's watching, I would love to have you in God and Gigs 360. And by the way, this is only for those who are in the mastermind, to make that clear. You do have to join the mastermind level because, hey, this is where we actually have that conversation. So that's part of being in the mastermind level. You God and Gigs Gold, okay? So that would be the bonus. Now, I would love that we had a chance to share. I love the fact that we had a chance to talk about branding. Let me give you a quick heads up on what's going to happen the rest of the week. We're going to continue going on with that. Now, I will probably skip January 5th. January 6th, I will do a recording, okay? I will do a recording on January 6th because we'll be in our church retreat. So I'll record those last couple so that you will still get that live stream. but they'll be recorded because I can't be live. All right, and I don't want you to wait to the end of the day until I get back and I'll be exhausted from our retreat. So those two will probably be. Oh, you ordered the Redeeming Time. Got it. Okay, yeah, man, you're gonna love that book. Basically, just talks about how Jesus used his time. How did Jesus manage his time? I mean, one of the most insanely smart premises of a book I've ever heard. I never heard anybody say, how did Jesus manage his time? How did he become unipresent when he used to be omnipresent? How did he become someone that had to get places but never hurry? Make haste but not hurry. Like, yo, you're going to love this book, man. I'm so glad you picked that up. So, and those of you who want to do a book club inside Guiding Gigs, by the way, I have considered that. I've never done a book club. LaShonda, I wonder if you consider that as well. I've never done like an actual, like, hey, this is what we're reading this week. We're doing, we are reading Your Art, God's Heart, which is my book. You can get at yourartgodsheart.com. So we are going to do the 27 to 21 days starting on January 10th. I need to put that in the thing. I need to put that in the calendar. January 10th, we're going to do the Your Art, God's Heart Challenge, 21 days to your best creative year through your spiritual alignment. So go check that out if you want to get that by January 10th. You want to go ahead and pick it up now so you can join us in the challenge. And we'll do daily emails and devotionals together in the Facebook group. And probably, actually, you know what? I may not do it in the Facebook group. I'm really trying to push everybody toward the membership. So we'll see. I think a book club with a private live stream component could be a lot of fun. Yeah, well, that's why I think I might put it inside. The private live stream would probably be inside the membership. That's what I'm thinking, because I don't want to do like two different things. So I think if we did the book club and then I just kept it in the mastermind, just say, hey, here's where we'll meet, like a third meeting, right? So it could be like the 2 office hours. And then the third one could be, here's the book club day, so that we don't try to do too much inside office hours. So I can make like a third day that would be just the book club. And so everybody could be reading the book, but only those who are in the membership in the mastermind can do the book club. Because the whole point about the mastermind has always been the access, and the video component is always the mastermind, and recorded is always the resources page. Really, I took that straight from your template, right? So the video would be also the book club and all the other things. And then, yeah, but there are too many books that like have formed my entire brain that I don't feel like people get it, because I don't talk about the book specifically. I just kind of integrate it into my life. But like Redeeming the Time, hugely. Taking the 5 Leaps over here, major impact. I can think of so many other ones like off the top of my head, but like basically the ones I have there in here. Like if I go here, Seth Godin Startup School. But if I go to, let me find it. Call to Create. Obviously, I read LaShonda, when I read Give and Take, yo, I just sent that to my pastor's son, our executive pastor. There's going to be so many sermons on Give and Take. That book, that made a huge impact on me. Essentialism, that would be one that we probably read. The 12-week year. Extreme ownership is more like military, is more leadership. I don't know if we would do that one. Halftime is about midlife crisis, which I'm at. Atomic Habits, that might be good. So I'm really enjoying this. Okay, we may have to do a book club. I think you just convinced me. I think we might have to do a book club. Okay, yeah, I love those too. Okay, yeah, I think we may do a book club, because between Atomic Habits, definitely, like, I'll connect it with the theme that we're working on, but we'll figure that out. I'm definitely into that. And then, like you said, like people who can join the live streams can. If they can't, it's cool, but at least it's available. And I'm hugely into books. And I think, again, this is where the marketing comes in, the messaging. We're way over time, guys, but as long as I make it to my gig, I got to go pick up some dry cleaning. That I got to make sure I watch the clock. So let me see, Emmanuel. My key for 2025 worship: moving beyond routine or performance into a place of total yieldedness to God's presence, allowing worship to be a vessel for what heaven is releasing. Oh, Jesus, I just want to shout on that. Gracious. Total yieldedness. You better preach. Man. All right. So you have a message in that. So if you lead with that message, Manuel, and everybody knows that's what you're about, but you lead with that message, you're going to attract the people that God has called you to reach, man. Because people who want to move beyond routine and performance into a total yieldedness, like that's the call. That's the call. That's the both the creation story and that's the why. That's the why of what you're doing. And so, just really, I would advise you, bro, just dig into that. Absolutely dig into that. Don't be shy about being clear about your message because the people who believe in that will be part of it. All right, guys, I gotta go. Someone's trying to see you made this live stream. You made it exactly what I just talked about. I was like, okay, we're just gonna do it live, and if nobody joins because it's New Year's Eve, no big deal. I'm not gonna stress it. I'm not gonna look at the zero at the top of the thing. I'm just gonna be like, let's go for it. Give people my best. But you proved once again by commenting, by showing up, and those of you who are watching on replay, you saw Emmanuel and Lashonda, and maybe you were watching on live stream and LinkedIn, and I couldn't see your comments. Appreciate that so much. Love you too, brother. Have an amazing 2025. Be safe out there, everybody who's watching this before New Year's. Have an amazing time. Be blessed. If you're in church, worship with all your might. Give God praise. If you're working like I'm going to be working, give the people your best. Give them the celebration that they deserve. Don't let the stress get to you because I know I can be stressed out around this time of year because these gigs get kind of crazy with the New Year's. But be safe, keep your wits about you, pray, be prayed up, but then just go out there and have a good time and perform for these folks. And for everybody who's just staying at home, the introverts in the world, all right, y'all stay home, relax, but think about what God has blessed you with. My thought to myself has been my kind of like my last little New Year's message has been the same God that ordered my steps in 2024 and brought me thus far is the same God that will order my steps in 2025. I believe that for our community. I believe that for your family. I believe that for your marriages. I believe that for your finances, for your faith. The same God that ordered your steps in 2024 is the same God that will order your steps in 2025. I wrote it in my journal this morning. I believe it. And I believe that for God in Gigs and for all of our community. So God bless you guys. Happy New Year. If I don't see you tomorrow in the live stream as we continue our 12 days to your best creative year ever. But God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I will see you, I can say this now, next year. God bless.